IQ Smart Parent is made possible in part by the McCune Foundation and the Grable Foundation.
On this episode of IQ Smart Parent, discover how to use dynamic digital tools to make a difference in our world and drive positive change. Hear from an author who has great tips for parents about raising generous kids. Meet teens who volunteer online and learn how to find volunteer opportunities that will help communities and build important skills every teen should have. We're talking about the power of digital do-gooders on this episode of IQ Smart Parent, and it starts right now. Welcome to IQ Smart Parent. I'm your host, Darieth Chisholm. Today we're talking about the value of volunteering, and we're going to explore how 21st century technology offers more ways than ever before for young people to connect, collaborate, and contribute to the social causes they care about. Our first guest is a Washington, D.C. based writer, speaker, and expert on family philanthropy. Welcome Susan Kreitz Price, author of the book Generous Genes, Raising Caring Kids in a Digital Age. Susan, welcome to the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So glad you're here. So, of course, all parents really do want to raise compassionate and kind children. But how challenging is that in this day of age of the internet and social media?
Well, one of the things that's happened is the roles have changed a little bit. And so what's interesting about the profound effect that the digital tools that kids have is affecting the way they do their giving. So for example, I grew up in a small town in Ohio, and I knew about the needs of my local community. My parents got me out, and we learned about what the needs were. My daughter's a millennial, so in her generation, they were called the digital natives because they were the first ones to grow up with the internet. And so she knew about the needs globally. I would hear about famines in Africa. Now we have Generation Z, and these kids are the first to grow up with social media, and that's where the really profound impact is happening, because they have the ability now to not only learn about local needs, learn about global needs, but they can act on it.
And how are we encouraging them to act on it, particularly as it relates to donating and generosity?
Well, I think we do a lot of conversation in our families about why it's important to give and to serve. But what's really happening is parents don't have to be the middlemen anymore. Kids can do a lot of things online themselves. So for example, if I'm interested in animals, I might go out on the internet and say, you know, where's my local animal shelter and what can I do to help them? So maybe a young person would see that they could take the pictures of the animals that want to be adopted and post them on their social media. That's a way to volunteer to help. They might see the list of the wishes that the organization has and do a drive to gather dog biscuits and whatever they need. But they could also find other things that pique their passions. There are kids who are raising money to buy bulletproof vests for canine corps animals. They are buying little oxygen masks that the firefighters take when they fight a fire so they can save the animals. There are millions of things kids can find that parents won't even know about that spark their passion.
So you talk about these 4 T's in your book. Describe what they are and how they work.
So we've always talked to kids about how we really want them to share their time, their talent, and their treasure. We all remember that from our own childhood. But now we've added a 4th T, and that T is ties. So the point is that now kids have this asset that if they're on social media, they can reach tons of people. One of the examples I really love is the little 4th graders in Brooklyn. In their elementary school, they were excited about the movie The Lorax when the Dr. Seuss book was made into a movie, and they realized that the website that promoted the book or the movie didn't say anything about saving trees. It's an environmental story, and they kind of had missed that. So the teacher said, well, you know, you should do an online petition and get them to change it. And they did. And they got thousands of people who decided they wanted to support this, and the company changed the website to have environmental messages that kids could grasp. And so that's the impact.
Yeah, and it appears that obviously in this day and age, children, even though they are spending a lot of time on their devices, they're still able to connect in a very humane and compassionate way by caring about those organizations that they might be supporting through donating.
Right, and they might do a lot of things that we didn't have the ability to do before. They can do fundraising that's done with a lot of online support. So for example, I care about an organization that's maybe supporting the ending of childhood hunger. So what do? You have a bake sale. Well, that's what we used to do, except now it's a cyber bake sale. So they go online, they figure out recipes, how to market, they can download templates for signs. Now they're getting it ready, and they send the message out to everybody that this is where my bake sale is going to be, and they get a lot more donations. And then they maximize their impact by joining a site where they have other kids doing the same thing, and they pool their money to have a real impact on hunger. But to be able to have the touch with other people is what I think is the key. So if you've done your bake sale through one of the wonderful websites that sponsor activities like this to support ending hunger or childhood pediatric cancer research, those things, it's more real in that you're joining with other people, you're pooling your money, you may be able to create little websites of your own to tell people tell your friends and family why you care about this. And I think, you can even post videos. It makes you feel a lot more connected and involved in the process. And I think that's a really good thing.
So you talk about something called generosity coaching. What is that?
Oh, well, I guess my concept is that if you're a sports coach, you teach your kids the fundamentals. When they're young, you're teaching them why it's important to give and so forth. So you teach them the fundamentals, and then you put them out on the field and let them execute. And at that point, you're on the sidelines, maybe cheering them on and giving them some tips, but you're letting them take the ball. And the reason I say that is because it's a real tendency on the part of parents to want to kind of orchestrate what their kids do when they volunteer and give, or say, oh, that might not be the best charity, maybe we should work on this one instead. The idea is kids are going to do it on their own anyway. They have the tools now. They don't really need us so much. So if you want to have an impact, it's going to have to be one that really makes it seem like you're open to whatever they want to try to do, and you're there to support them.
How would you encourage parents to help their kids make the biggest impact online?
Well, I think it's up to us to kind of learn what's out there, learn what they're doing, and some of that's keeping a conversation going where you're asking them, how is this charity that you're supporting doing? What do they serve? Let me know. I want to understand, because I have to make decisions about my own giving, and there's lots of places that I could spend my time on and my money on. So I'm thinking especially with the older ones, it's a kind of a two-way conversation where you really get a sense of what's out there online, and also what's going to drive them to want to volunteer in the real world, not just virtually.
You certainly point out a lot of this in your book, Generous Genes. So we do thank you for being here on the show and sharing more about this.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you. Coming up, meet teens who are involved in online volunteering and hear their advice for ways to make the most of digital media. But up first, sit in on a remarkable gathering of young people from around the globe. The group is called One Young World, and these future leaders have strong thoughts about using digital tools to make connections and drive positive change.
Who are these emerging young leaders? What do they care about? And what makes them different from previous generations?
They're the most knowledgeable generation of young people that we've ever seen. Because of technology, it's given them unlimited access to knowledge. This is the first time in history where it's the youngest people in the world who understand more about the biggest change that's happening in the world than anyone else. So it's the world's youngest adults who get the digital and social revolution and the power of it. They're the people who are driving and using this.
David Jones is the co-founder of One Young World, a London-based charity started in 2009. One Young World provides a platform for the millennial generation, and it connects and supports emerging leaders under the age of 30.
They're the most responsible generation we've ever seen. They see the world's problems, and not only do they see them, but they believe that they not only do they have to do something about them, but that they actually can.
The millennial generation faces unprecedented crises in the environment, in politics, and in global finances on the brink of collapse. They know they must improve education, create jobs, build more responsible businesses, and campaign for meaningful political policies to improve their own futures.
We as business leaders, as media leaders, heads of government, we were supposed to be addressing those systemic challenges, and we weren't. And yet every time you talk to a young person, those were the challenges that they want to talk about.
Once a year, One Young World holds a summit, bringing together more than 1,300 young leaders from 183 countries. It's the second largest gathering of young people in the world, right after the Olympics.
Politics is first and foremost about who has the power. Organizing for social change is about shifting the balance of power.
These young leaders are part of a breakout session led by Jody Hirsch. Jody heads a nonprofit consulting firm dedicated to social justice advocacy. And she says even though technology has made it easier than ever for young people around the world to share ideas, true leaders know it still takes direct action to trigger real change.
Social media sort of makes it easy for you to hear something and feel like you're doing something. You know, just click the button and now I'm an activist all of a sudden. It goes from direct service all the way to direct action. Social media is a complement to action. They can create a hashtag, they can get an issue out there, but without people who are still willing to do those one-on-one interactions, who are still willing to go on a lobby visit, write a letter to the editor, you know, visit a politician, go to a demonstration. Without those people, I actually don't think social media would be as effective. I think it works as, you know, like sort of pushing the gas a little harder, but it doesn't start the engine.
One of those delegates is 21-year-old Erin Schrode. Erin is a senior at New York University, and her passion is environmental education. It began when Erin was just 13 years old. That's when she started paying more attention to the chemicals used in beauty and hygiene products and questioned their impact on the environment.
As a teenager, as a young person, you think, oh, somebody's looking out for my health and well-being. Oh, somebody's looking out for the planet. And it's a rude awakening when you realize you're out for yourself. And my peers' response was the same. It was a sense of outrage and then a desire to act.
So 13-year-old Erin started a nonprofit organization called Teens Turning Green.
And our mission is to work with high school and college students around environmental education advocacy, to empower the next generation to be the change, and also to encourage behavioral shift towards a more environmentally sustainable and socially responsible lifestyle.
Nearly a decade later, Teens Turning Green has motivated youth activities in 22 countries worldwide. But in 2010, Erin saw television coverage of the earthquake that ravaged Haiti. A chance encounter with a Haitian teacher inspired Erin to take on a new cause.
Teacher said, if I only had the materials, I'd teach the kids myself. That what was standing between him being able to teach the students and the kids that were out of school being able to learn was pens and paper. So now I started a movement called the School Bag to bring school supplies to Haiti, connecting people here with school supplies drives, connecting companies that have surplus materials, just as a bridge.
Staying true to her Teens Turning Green roots, Erin filled each school bag with environmentally sustainable and ethically produced products.
And we went around to schools and we gave it out, and the kids, it was magic.
To date, they've distributed more than 16,000 school bags.
This, for me, is an investment in education. It's an investment in the youth of the country, and it's an investment in their future and their ability to prosper. I believe tremendously in the power of young people to achieve the impossible. And I hope that apathy is out, that action is our response, and that we're connected enough to realize we can change the world.
We're talking about digital do-gooders today, and what better way to learn about them than to hear directly from them. Our next guests participate in virtual volunteer opportunities they found through the American Red Cross. Welcome Bella McGill, Macy Ridgway, and Elizabeth Tice. Ladies, thanks so much for being here on the show with us.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so you all volunteer online. Give me an idea of the types of things that you're doing as you're volunteering online.
So the three of us volunteer with the American Red Cross through our youth group, and we do a lot of online volunteering by sending emails and promoting events on our Red Cross calendar to our supervisor and others in the community.
Yeah, another online volunteer opportunity we have is fundraising, and it's really fun to be able to do by yourself or in groups of people.
We also can use our social media to spread disaster preparedness information to our friends and family.
So what types of tools, now I'm going to imagine you're using your cell phone, right? But why would you go to a big computer? But I assume you're using your cell phone, computers?
Yeah, I use my laptop because I can email easily and it can reach a lot of people without having to schedule a meeting and having everybody come and talk in person. And I can post events to our online Red Cross calendar.
Yeah, I usually use my cell phone and my computer because it's easy to set up fundraising online and then share it through social media.
Now, does this happen at a particular time? Is it with school and your other organizations, things that you're involved with, that you do it at a particular time, or is it whenever you have the extra time?
Since we're using very flexible kind of devices of like phones or computers, it's very easy to upload or share information at any time.
Yeah, and if there's like an event that we know is going to happen, but we won't be able to make it, we can email our Red Cross supervisor ahead of time, and so she can let us know if there's something else we can do besides that.
Do you still feel connected even if you're not seeing the people and being face to face with those people that you're working with?
The awesome thing about Red Cross is it's everywhere, and we know we're part of something bigger than ourselves. We will see families on TV being helped in times of disasters, or military families working with volunteers, and we know we're part of making it all happen.
How does that feel? I mean, it must have a really good feeling to know that you're helping out in this way.
Yeah, it's really nice to know because at our age there's not many volunteer opportunities, but to be able to do this is really nice.
And even though we're not always there, the communications at the Red Cross are really great at letting us know how we've affected people, and they let us know all the things we did and accomplished and how it helped everyone else.
Does this feel a lot more responsible than just playing around with your phone?
Yeah.
I bet it does.
Yeah.
Would you say that you're building certain skills, things that may in fact help you in the future?
Definitely. We're building self-motivation and being passionate about what you do, and communication. I know a lot of people our age don't use emails, but it's very helpful in times like this, and it will help for college and maybe a career.
Yeah, well, certainly. When you are obviously spending a lot of time online, I asked the question about whether or not you feel disconnected in some way, but do you also do some volunteering in person as well?
We do, as well as volunteering online. We are part of our local Red Cross youth group, and we usually meet about once a month, and it's such a great opportunity, and we've also considered starting a club in our school district.
What would you say to other kids that might consider volunteering online?
I think it's really fun, and I definitely recommend doing it. It's so great, and it's a great way to build your resume. You get to communicate with new people that you haven't met before, and it's just a really great way to have a positive impact on others.
Yeah, I think that it's a really great idea because we can easily talk to other people that might not live in our school district, that we might not ever see, and it makes you feel really good about yourself to know that you're not just on your phone playing games or texting people. You can really show that there's something good that can come out of it.
And it is for such a worthy cause. I'm very proud of you, young ladies. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do appreciate that, and thanks for being here on the show. Is your child ready to become a digital do-gooder? Check out this list of tips to see if virtual volunteering is a good fit.
Are you ready to be a virtual volunteer? Ask yourself these questions. Do you have regular and reliable access to the internet? How about strong communication skills? Much of your contact with an organization could be via email. Are you self-motivated and able to work on your own without direct supervision? Can you manage your time, respond promptly to emails, and meet deadlines? Finally, do you have enough time to commit to virtual volunteering? Organizations rely on you to complete your assignments. If you answered yes to these questions, then you're ready to be a digital do-gooder.
Our final guest today is Chris Hawthorne. He is the Director of School and Youth Partnerships at Pittsburgh Cares, a nonprofit organization affiliated with the National Hands-On Network. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So part of what your goal is with your organization is to engage the community, to get volunteers involved. So how do you get kids and young people involved with volunteering?
Well, first off, it's important for us that we're working with the right people. So we work with schools, we work a lot with guidance counselors, history teachers is a big one. work a lot with parents. So we need to make sure that we're working with the right people to make sure that we understand what those kids care about, where they're coming from, the communities they live in, the kind of the issues they face and stuff like that.
And I would imagine with kids, sometimes they think that volunteering is just something that they have to do one time because someone said that they needed to. How do you get kids to really be involved long-term with volunteering?
Well, it's really funny because whenever I talk to kids and we're talking about volunteering, I think what a lot of them think of is they picture people who are along the side of the road and they're wearing these vests and they're picking up trash. You know, that's what they think of volunteering. They don't really get to see the side where they're active community partners. So I think that's the first thing that we do is try to kind of change what their perspective on what being a volunteer is, especially as a kid. You can do some really, really cool things as a kid in their communities. And that kind of starts with educational. So we do these workshops where we come in and we talk to the kids, we show them videos, we have discussions, and we kind of get them to see what it really means to be a volunteer.
And I would think with kids always being online, on the internet, that there are lots of ways that they can volunteer. Do you help engage them in that way?
I find that I actually don't need to help them much with that because they're already engaged in social media. Everybody knows, if you're a kid, what a hashtag is. Everybody knows what a tweet and what an Instagram post is. So a lot of these kids really care about issues, and the way that they express themselves is through social media. So having that resource is something that they already have. We do things with messaging. We'll talk about what an elevator pitch is. So if there's a kid who really cares about a specific topic and you have 140 characters for that, and you want to maybe raise awareness of mental health or of a local hunger need or issue in your community, we talk through things like that.
What would be some good keywords or ways that kids could actually find real companies or organizations to volunteer? So they're not just hitting the like button or making a random comment and thinking they're volunteering, they're actually fully engaging and getting involved.
I think it would probably start with your internet search. So when let's say if you want to get involved as a volunteer, and we hear these stories a lot. Well, I was trying to figure out something to do and I typed in volunteer and you enter your city name or whatever, and I couldn't find anything. What we always try to say is first figure out what need you care about. So most people are able to identify a couple of different things. So let's say that I really care about equality or I really care about education. What I suggest is typing in that need, I call it an impact area, the name of your city, and then type in the word volunteering and see what comes up. And it's kind of a rabbit hole sometimes. You might have to spend a little bit of time, but the best thing you want to do is connect with a local agency that works with that impact area in the city.
Do you think that parents might be concerned about safety with their kids searching for companies this way or organizations this way?
I mean, I definitely think that parents should be involved in this process. I find that most parents are supportive of their issues. And granted, every family is different, but I would say that if they're working directly with an agency, eventually you're going to find somebody's email or phone number that the parents can probably vet who that is.
Volunteering really does, when you do it and you do it often, you feel good about being of service and giving back in that way. And certainly that's a wonderful feeling that kids should have and be able to express. But in terms of skill building and creating future leaders, volunteering could certainly help them build better skills and craft them as better leaders.
Oh, goodness, yes. So they've actually done studies where they've looked at youth who are engaged in service and volunteering versus kids that aren't. And those kids that are engaged in volunteering and service, there's a gap there. They learn things, time management. So, you're balancing all these different things. They learn organization. I actually work with kids who plan their own service projects. And it's really cool to watch them kind of come in with not a whole lot of experience to know what they're doing and watch them gain things, public speaking, talking to people about their cause, overcoming obstacles. So if somebody wants to plan, I recently worked with a group of kids who were supporting a local animal shelter. They had to find a space to host their drive. They had to work around schedules with their schools. And being able to overcome those obstacles, confidence, knowledge of how organizations work. Those are all things that kind of help.
Yeah. And what final advice would you give to parents, especially if those parents who are really interested in engaging their children with volunteer opportunities?
Be supportive. You know, I think that most parents would. And serve as a resource. I think that oftentimes youth don't understand the resources they have at hand. And if you have a young person who is involved in volunteering, help them search, help them find a local organization that's in your neighborhood that you can trust and that you know that the student will want to work with. Drive them there. Do everything you can to get that kid involved. And once they're there, let the nonprofit take it from there.
That makes a lot of sense. Thanks, Chris, for being here. We certainly
thank you.
appreciate it. And we hope today's guest inspired you to look for volunteer opportunities in your community and online so we can all work together to drive positive change. Be sure to join us again next time for more IQ Smart Parent.
Want to learn more about IQ Smart Parent? Visit us online at iqsmartparent.org for more episodes and additional tools and resources. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest to share your thoughts on being a 21st century parent. IQ Smart Parent is made possible in part by the McCune Foundation and the Grable Foundation.